Today marks the 4th anniversary of our first release, the self-titled EP, Tyrannus. To mark the occasion, I figured I would say some words on it to mark my feelings publicly on it, and maybe explain a little bit about where we have gone from it. I have a very tumultuous and mixed relationship with this EP. Listening back to it, I can feel the anxiety and desperation coming from me in everything: songwriting, vocals, guitar playing, all of it. Tyrannus was first formed between Alistair and I at the start of 2018, but the idea of playing music together had come in September 2017 after Alistair's last gig playing in Venomov, who I would also leave a few months later. By the time we started writing the music, I was in a bad place mentally and felt like the world was leaving me behind in a lot of ways. I was incredibly bitter. I was coping through unhealthy beliefs and irresponsible spending, and every day I woke up with regret. And whenever I looked back at my adult life, I only saw mistakes and wasted opportunities. Also, this might seem a little silly, but I was very incensed from looking at my entry on the Metal Archives and seeing that I'd been involved in bands for over 10 years and had very little to show for it. So with that mindset, along with a hoarded pile of expensive guitar equipment, which I had little opportunity to make use of, you can see how I was desperate to have something out as soon as possible. There was no concern for quality or promotion on my part, I just had a burning need to express something. Anything. The music on this EP was all written within about 6 weeks and was done so in an appalling manner, which I would play guitar into a phone, send it to Alistair to notate for timings and tempo, rough drum maps, and then we would rehearse that material maybe 5 or 6 times at most before we began recording with Guillaume Martin and his recording setup in Edinburgh. Prior to recording this EP, I had a real fear of the red light based on my past recording experiences. Guillaume and Alistair were both amazing in getting me through that. I even remember at one point both of them having to sing the bridge riff of Bad Spirit to me as I played it just to get it in time. The lyrics were rushed and mostly made up on the drives to Edinburgh just before we had to record the vocals. For anyone thinking this is a good idea based on lore of bands from long past doing the same, like Nirvana, it isn't. I also hadn't properly performed vocals in about 7 years before this and had no idea where I wanted to go, hence the very rough and kind of sad sounding Dave Mustaine impression throughout. From what I remember and know, Alistair got the drums recorded in about 2 days without too much trouble. I don't recall him being overall happy with the sound or performance. It's also worth noting that this was early in Guillaume's time as a producer, as he hadn't long started Sonorous Studio and was still figuring about his way about things. Lawrence O'Brien is a friend who I've known since 2009, and I had asked him to come do some solos for the EP. His guitar playing is the best I've ever experienced face to face, and he makes this EP worth listening just to hear those beautiful leads in tandem with Alistair's drumming. The artwork by Daniel Corcarera was bought from him in early 2017 before I had even an inkling of Tyrannus in mind, and I added the pink after playing about with the colour tools on Instagram one night. The logo was designed by Dave Koya after I told him I wanted a thrash style logo which could be interchangeable with a synthwave band in an 80s action film. So March 21st, 2019, the EP is released digitally on streaming services. The Bandcamp upload would happen in the following August upon Alistair's insistence. It was met with some praise, but a lot of the feedback I personally took was, this should have been better. This EP is a constant reminder of that now. It should have been better. It should have been written, rehearsed, and refined long before recording ever came into the picture. I should have had more input on how it sounded. I should have had a plan for its release. I should have been focusing on the quality of the songs and not how shiny my Mesa Dual rectifier looked in my Instagram posts. I should have figured out what Tyrannus was actually supposed to be. And that's what I did afterwards. This EP might be a constant reminder of what I should have done at the time, but it provided me a massive learning opportunity to fail in so many ways without much to lose besides my very fragile sense of pride at the time. And we did get some things right. I think Repeating Misery is actually a nice point in the general direction of where we would end up going, and I like how it is a good showcase of what Alistair and I could put together. Most of all though, it's a reminder of what we sound like when we lack the motivation and care we've since put into everything we've done. In that sense, among others, this EP will not be repeated. If, unlike myself, you do enjoy this EP, thank you. And if you're one of those people who listened to this at the time and felt you deserved better for 12 minutes of your time and told us as much, thank you.